Righty. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, so I have already entered a scalp. I do apologize for starting up the stream a little late. So here's what we're looking at. 5 minute time frame so far. Market is overall. Now currently I am in a put position. Just again, 5 minute time frame. We're targeting puts above the upper Bollinger to the middle Bollinger, or we're going to be targeting calls from the lower Bollinger to the 20 mile, or middle Bollinger, excuse me. So that's the plan. Um, Let me go ahead and check the rest of the market. Apologize for getting the stream started up a little late today. Big is seeing some buying this morning, but nothing super impressive just yet. Bitcoin doing okay. Now, this morning's CPI wasn't anything spectacular. Um, Especially with the oil prices going up, the CPI reading doesn't really mean a whole lot. Okay, so currently I'm in a put position on SPY. I am just simply targeting the 676.41. Now we can be pushing up and there'll be a ton of drawings on the screen. For a second, I apologize, but we can be forming this cup here. So potentially we can be pulling up all the way to that 678.86, which would basically be 679. If we do get to that range, I'm still going to be fine with my short position because top of the cup should be anticipating pulling down regardless if we're going to push up anyway. So we should be hitting our middle Bollinger one way or another. So that's the plan. I am currently shorting. Now let's kind of just go over the rest of the market really quick. Nvidia is starting to push up a little bit, but with it being in the upper Bollinger on the 5 minute time frame, it can start to pull back. So that can be some of the fuel we need to get our middle Bollinger here. Good morning, good morning. Now I am gonna have some drawings on the screen. I do apologize. I know it doesn't look the best right now. In fact, I'm actually going to hide some of this for a second, just so that we don't have to contend with it. Let's pull that out of the way. That right there, so it's visible. Visible. Okay. Now we can go back to our smaller time frames. Okay, so this is what I'm really looking at on the larger time frame, which, this is the hourly. We have this curving going on right here. So as long as we don't officially break out, then it's still looking very, very good that we will be pushing down towards the that's 656. Obviously not today in a single session, but that's likely where the price action is trying to go, unless they're trying to form this cup and handle here. Okay. Um, Granted, I don't think that's what is occurring. I know there's a ton of stuff on the screen. I do apologize for the clutter, but that larger structure right here is part of the previous major inverse cup. So I'm not attributing this current structure to being a cup and handle. I'm basically seeing this as its own structure. So we'll see how that plays out. Now on the 5 minute time frame, pulling up the moving averages and Bollingers. We don't need the moving averages right now. Again, we're in short positions from the upper Bollinger here. We're just simply targeting the 20 ma, and at the 20 ma, we will take majority of the profit and allow runners to run. Good morning, good morning. Let's check the VVIX really quick, see how that's going. It is super elevated, so that is still telling us that the selling is not done. Just gonna stay on the screen just for a second because I want to check a few positions really quick. Okay, got it. All right, so my put is, says my OBS disconnected, but hopefully it didn't. I believe it's still live, so let me know if you guys are having any disruptions or not. Um, anyway, scalping class, right? When we are scalping on the 5 minute time frame, and this is literally ignoring any structure, any daily sentiment, anything else. This is just purely going off of the 5 minute time frame using our Bollinger Bands. Okay. We have our area above the upper Bollinger, which we're going to put red because that's basically the short range. And then we have our lower Bollinger, which is going to be basically green because that's when you buy your calls. So when you're taking these trades, all you're doing is going from the upper Bollinger to the middle band with a short, or taking the call from the bottom of the bottom Bollinger to the middle Bollinger. Super consistent trade that you can take. Now, the only downside to this trade is that you cut the profit off at the 20 mile. So if you're going to have any room underneath it, for example, with us shorting here, if there's going to be room underneath this, then potentially we could be losing that profit or leaving it on the table. Now, one way you can do this, and this is personally what I do, is that when running multiple contracts, is that I'll take the majority of the profit at that 20 mile range. Don't even worry about it. And then if I have running contracts, so, usually I'll go with, say, 8 contracts at a time. I'll sell anywhere from 4 to 6 of them when we hit that range, allow them to, do what they're going to do. If they're going to run down and push all the way to the lower Bollinger, then that's, a ton of profit that we don't leave on the table at that point. But we don't want to skip the profit either because there's many times where we go from this upper Bollinger range, hit that 20 mile, and then instantly bounce. And I mean almost instantly. You have literal seconds to close that position once you actually hit the 20 mile. So that's why I focus on just taking very quick profit, take the 20 mile position, and if there's going to be some room after that, allow the runner to catch it. That way you're not having these positions where it was super green, and then all of a sudden it has this half-second bounce, and all of a sudden the position's red again. We don't want to do that. We want our positions to make us money. So take the 20 mil and wait for the next trade after that. So with the spirit of this, our 20 mil currently is basically right at that 676.60 range. We're at that right now, so I'm going to sell my contract. And there's the trade. Um, on that put, let's see, I made, hold on, I have to check the actual order. I just kind of didn't have a lot of time this morning, so I just bought what I could. Orders filled today. Okay, so the puts that I took were the 674s. I bought them at 1.06 and I sold them at 1.32. So $30 profit may not be the biggest profit in the world, but that's what a scalp is. It's meant to be a very quick and consistent trade. It's in and out, nothing to sit here and be worrying about for the rest of the day. Um, Now I have my runner position running, and if we continue to see this 20 mod pushed into, then it's going to profit me very, very greatly. Awesome, I love to hear that. We are not taking delta into account when using these scalps. Now, I do kind of want to put a little warning behind that, is that if you're, how do I word this? These type of scalps for this exact setup needs to be done on one of the very large indexes. And before I continue that discussion, this example here where we talked about how we could pull from the upper Bollinger, touch that 20 mil and bounce, we're starting to see that just a little bit. We can push down further, but this is just a very good example of how you can touch that range and just immediately launch off. So it's always good to take the profit. Don't risk the position. Don't worry about anything like that. If there's more money to be made, then the trade will open up eventually. Okay, so we're not trying to force the positions here. Um, Delta, Delta. We focus these type of setups on very, very large indexes or ETFs, so SPY, QQQ, IWM, things that are very, very, very liquid. And the reason why is because we don't want to be playing with delta. We don't want our deltas to be shifting on us while we're trying to secure our profits. Um, if we don't take some of our very, very large symbols for these types of trades, we can have it happen where we push into that range and the delta just hasn't caught up yet, and you don't really get the profit that you should be. So that's the main concern I have about delta. Um, but it's usually something we're not very, very concerned with if we're sticking to, the SPY, QQQ, IWM, SOX, some of these bigger names. And once we took the profit on this trade, we basically just wait for the next position. Um, our runners are running. If you still have positions running, that's great. They're working on building profit. If not, then we're simply just waiting for either, and I want to delete this arrow. We're waiting for either the push back up into the upper Bollinger or into the lower Bollinger so that we can once again secure another trade. Very welcome. Now, I am going to very, very quickly just cycle through all my watch list, which might look very sporadic for a second. I do apologize, but there's just a couple things I need to check. I did not have a lot of time this morning before the stream. I do apologize. Seeing a lot of tech right now, still within that upper Bollinger range, so there can be quite a bit of room down today. As you can see, Microsoft still pushing down towards that lower Bollinger, or not the lower Bollinger, the 20 mile. I believe we were seeing that out of NVIDIA as well. Yes, seeing the same thing out of NVIDIA. So again, very, very likely. we're going to see from this upper Bollinger range down towards that 20 mile. Oracle had a very good earnings, but thankfully they did not get any crazy 500 billion cash injection or anything, so that's good. Starbucks could be a call opportunity, but not one I want to take right now. Semiconductors still giving you that short opportunity. Again, with it being in that upper Bollinger range, can take it down towards that middle bowl. That'd be a whole $3 downside roughly. So very nice position. But again, I do want to wait until it's actually pushed into the upper Bollinger or the lower Bollinger before I secure a put or a call on it. But I am looking at that in terms of semiconductors are pushed upward. We can very likely see them pull back a little bit today. Spy, still doing spy things. And I want to check the VVIX again. TLT. See the 10-year yield, almost 4.2%. And our VVIX is still rising. So again, this is still just telling us that selling is actively taking place today. And all right, let's circle back to the SPY. Good morning, good morning. I love to hear it. I love hearing everyone having green days. That's exactly what we want. Now, generally when I'm trying to do my scalps for the day, I won't usually just be sitting here actively watching the chart. In terms of the overall charting and everything today, the overall structure, we're seeing overall a breakdown within equities. Doesn't mean we're going to see a full-blown sell-off, but it is starting to allude to that we should be seeing the day selling. Now, I do want to go over the moving averages really quick. So the 5 mile, which again, that's our most short-term support. That's the closest anchor we can always look to. It's currently at the 677.17, so we are testing the 5 mile range. With the 5 mile range being tested, that means that we can be pushing up roughly $1 to $2 above that range and below the range. So the full expectation on the day's range should be basically the 679 all the way to the 675. Um, if we're going to, continue testing that 5 mile. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of structure. Um, with having a bear um, bias overall, I am expecting the 5 mile to reject today, which would mean that we should be pushing down under that 675. Good morning. And here again is just that example of why we take that 20 mile range for our exit. We did not exit there, and potentially if we see buying for the rest of the day, then that put exit would have been the only exit for the day. Granted, I'm still bearish overall. I do think that we will be pushing down, but just for example's sake, we have seen many times where it does hit that 20 mile and bounces right off of it. A good example, let's see, there was one the other day. See if I can find it really quick. Either this week or last week, I'm trying to remember. It's right in here. We didn't push all the way up to the upper Bollinger in here, but we got, fairly close, and it was close enough to take the short position. We barely pulled down to that 20 mile range, which on the actual time frame, it doesn't even look like we pushed down into it, but we did exit with our profit there, and if we didn't exit with the profit there, we would have gotten absolutely smoked. So, that's why we take our 20 mile exits on the 5-minute time frame, because you can't really ever expect to get underneath that um, with a scalp. I mean, the expectation's always nice, but that's just not always how it works. Um, Today so far is showing a great example of that. If we, again, don't push down any further, then that would have been the only put exit for the day. Now, with semiconductors starting to push up again into this upper Bollinger, I am going to start looking at some puts for semiconductors, which we can also do stocks as calls. So we're going to take a look at those actually. So for the stocks as position, um, again, if we're going to take this position, which I'm really wanting to do here, then I'm going to target the 38 calls. And let's see what our medium price on that would be. So I'm going to try 125 and see if we can hit it there. Okay, so we got it at 116. Perfect. Okay. Um, this trade is dated out 2 days at least. So um I'm going to be taking it as a scalp, but if you want to hold it longer, that's completely fine. But again, I'm just taking it from this upper Bollinger to the middle band. For semiconductors, that'd be roughly a $4 to $5 move. So that's plenty fine for me. For success, that would very, very likely pull us all the way back up towards this $39, $40 range. So I like that position quite a bit. Everything is pushed up very, very heavily. So again, I like the positions here. Um, Same with the SPY. The short on the SPY here is actually very nice as well. And those SOX calls are already starting to gain some good weight. My positions are up about $15 a piece. So let's see if we continue to get our selling. S- Now, I just want to circle to the VVIX really quick because we did see this pull down slightly towards that 127.41. Oh, this news was from Trump saying that he's going or the war's going to be ending very soon and blah blah blah. Anyway, um, potentially that gave us a really nice short candle. So let's check semiconductors, still pulling down. Good morning. All right, so we're just in short positions on, at least for me personally, I'm in SOX S calls. That is shorting semiconductors. And just expecting this to gravitate back towards that 20 mile range. And that should be a great position. Same with semiconductors here. It's the exact same thing. And let's check the VVIX again. And I also want to take a look at oil in a second here. Yeah, it's still very elevated. Um, if we were going to be seeing actual major buying on the day, I'd be expecting this to pull down very, very, very aggressively. Um, just for context, this was, let's see, that other session where we started to pull up. This is that one session, where we saw a lot of buying just a few days ago, or even yesterday. I don't remember. It's been a long week. Um, anyway, we saw the VVIX pull all the way from the 141 down towards the 128 in a single session. Um, if we're going to be seeing the buying really picking up in the day, then we're going to be seeing the VVIX, excuse me, the VVIX pulling down very, very, very aggressively. So that's one thing we will be looking for. But until then, we're just looking for our downside to hit. Bitcoin has a really good example of hitting or going from the upper Bollinger to the 20 mile and bouncing right off of it. Let's check Nvidia and Microsoft really quick. Yeah, again, Nvidia looks very good for the short. Microsoft, if we continue seeing rejection in here, this would be a very, very good signal for the short positions. Because this would be, or this would mean that we are invalidating this cup and handle. Um, if this pulls up into a cup, that would allude into, more buying throughout equities. But so far, with this rejection, that would be telling us very likely that the rejection that we're expecting should be occurring. So SPY just continuing to pull down. Let's check semiconductors and all that good stuff. Still holding weight. Seeing the SPY beginning to lose its level again. Now, I did not take the SPY short here, but this would have been, again, a very, very, very quality short position. So if you took it, great. You take profit at the 20 mile once again, and that would be just like the trade we took this morning. So that's what you're looking for. look at DVIX again. Yeah, I mean, for me, DVIX not pushing downward very aggressively here is telling me that extremely likely the selling's going to be picking up. Would be very, very, very surprised to not see it. Now, I know some can be looking at this inverse, potentially head and shoulders here, or the breakout, and potentially this being a very large cup. Now, that's fine. Those are fine if those are actually truly bullish structures, because again, at the top of a cup, we always expect bear structure to form regardless, because we need to be able to pull downward to form the handle back upward. So we always expect our bear structure to happen there anyway. So short position still looks very fine here. Again, unless we see something shift very drastically within our VVIX or um, some other signal that I can't think of right this second, then we'd be looking for or looking to close those positions. But so far, nothing is telling me that we need to be overly cautious or anything. So seeing our high yield credits um, selling off a little bit, so that does indicate to us that very, very likely the selling should be occurring. And now we just wait. Everything is looking very fine on the selling end though. Just really need semiconductors to pull down. Might be a little difficult, seeing how Oracle has been holding, quite a bit of weight. It did have a very good earnings again, so um, this is holding up the day a fair amount. QQQ hasn't even pulled to its 20 mile yet, so um, that also looks like a selling signal to me. Because again, that's just how the 5 minute time frame trades. You're always going to be trading from one Bollinger to the other. Um, or from the upper to the middle back up to the upper, something like that. With the QQQ not even hitting the 20 mile yet, then it is telling me that very likely it wants to pull down and claim that range. Seeing our continuation of the selling in SPY. So all good selling signals. Let's check semiconductors. Starting to get our selling on semiconductors, so that is good. Our success calls should be up. I'm probably actually look at the position. It is green very, very slightly, so that is good. If anyone has any questions or anything, or any symbols they want me to go over, feel free to ask. I have no problem taking a look at whatever. Oil is having a little bit of a bounce, so that can be definitely pushing down on equity weight. Still seeing some selling out of HIG as well. Bitcoin starting to see some selling. Now, a lot of people don't like my correlation that I put on Bitcoin, but I'm talk about it anyway. Bitcoin's pretty much 100% institutionally owned, so it likes to trade in terms of the actual price action on the day. It likes to trade a lot with where the rest of the equities are going to be going. So if you're seeing buying within Bitcoin on the day, generally that can, allude to buying within equities as well. If we're seeing selling on the day within Bitcoin, usually that can allude to selling on the day within equities. It's not always a one-to-one correlation, but they do tend to share, um, the same dealer houses. They're trying to handle the positions somewhat the same way. If there's a lot of selling on the day, there's generally going to be selling throughout majority of the symbols, things like that. Let's check the VVIX again. I'm always looking at the VVIX because it's extremely, extremely reactive. Um, if you're going to get any major signal of buying or selling, the VVIX would generally be the first indicator that you're going to see. Is pulling down a little bit. Can't expect it to push towards that middle Bollinger. But from that middle Bollinger, very, very likely should see it bounce back up over it. Really want to see this range taken out on QQQ. If we can really claim this range, then that will tell us that the previous bullish structure has been invalidated and that we are within a selling structure. So that's what we're looking for on QQQ. SPY, same thing. It's just that little area right there from the low of the day. Really need to push down and break that low. Just continuing to look for the rejection here. Now this can be somewhat considered as a 20 mile hit, but really I'm looking for the actual level to be pushed into. but very, very rarely we have seen bounces off the 20 mile that have just barely hit the level and taken off. But so far on the day, I don't think that's what we're seeing. Um, Again, there are a lot of signals that are telling us that very, very likely we should be pulling back. Now, if we have a bounce here, I'm not expecting it, but again, we always have to just be prepared. Then I'd be expecting all the way back up towards the high of the day because this would be forming a cup and handle type of structure. Um, Thank you, Weeple, for making that cup look like a squiggly line. Um, but yeah, that basically we're looking for either the bullish structure to complete or the bullish structure to be invalidated, to, signify that we're going to be within a bearish structure for the day. Haven't seen that fully yet, but we're just continuing to see the tapering, which is a signal within itself. VVIX starting to hit that 20 mile range, so if we start seeing it bounce upward, that would tell us that selling is on the way. Nvidia is still tapering back. Bitcoin buying up slightly. So I'm really looking for a bounce within the VVIX very, very soon here. You feel behind? How come? Starting to get a little bit of that bounce, but we want to see actual dollars being pushed upward, not just a few cents. Well, if you feel like you're chasing stuff, just cut the positions. Hold 1 second, I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry about that. Okay, anyway, if you're feeling like you're basically trying to chase a trade or catch a trade in here, just cut the position and wait. Um, all you have to do is wait for the upper Bollinger or the lower Bollinger range. Again, that's all you're doing as a scalper is you're looking for those very, very, very opportune entries and exits. Um, if they're not there, then don't force it. Just wait until something opens. There's so many different symbols we can go over. I mean, there's EQ, SOX, IWM, SPY. I mean, so many different symbols that have the type of liquidity and price action that we're looking for that we can actively trade. I mean, you could do this with precious metals. Um, I mean, you name it. So never feel like you have to force a trade, or that you're trying to like catch up on the day. Just wait for the position to open. If it's going to open, then you're going to find a way to make money off of it one way or another, right? Here, starting to see our bullish structure being invalidated, which that's exactly what we've been looking for. We're looking for this inverse cup to fill out, which of course Weeble decided to cut it off, but with this cup starting to fill out now, this is telling us that we should be seeing some real bearish downside today. Let's check our VVIX. Again, starting to bounce quite a bit, about a whole $1.20 off of that level so far. So really alluding to some major selling within, semiconductors, SPY, QQQ, all that good stuff. Let's just check QQQ here. QQQ finally hit that level. As you can see, invalidated the bullish upside, at least within the short term. Now, this can still turn bullish because, again, if they want to form like a giant cup and handle here, they can work on trying to build the bottom of the handle and then push upward. Um, but with all the rest of the signals we're seeing on the day so far, with our VVIX still pulling upward, our VIX is elevated. We're seeing oil continuing to push upward. Let's see, VVIX, yeah, VVIX bouncing off that 20 mile like we talked about. So if it's going to continue pushing upward, that is telling us that there will be some selling on the day. Our SOX positions are starting to gain some weight, so that's good. Just really need semiconductors to start losing some weight. They're the ones that are really holding up equities right now. Mainly Oracle, but I do expect it to continue to sell, even if it does take a little bit to do. Awesome. Yeah, and the thing about your puts is that you should be taking, like, I know you're probably taking about, I don't know, 2 to 4 contracts at a time. I'm just guessing. But assuming you're taking 4 contracts, once you hit that profit, you should 100% be taking at least half of the profit on that position. Um, you know, just going over how we scalp again, and I know you know this exactly, but just mentioning it for everybody else. Take it from the upper Bollinger to that 20 mile and allow runners to take that additional profit from there. Okay. Um, for the scalp, this could bounce right off that 20 mile range, so you don't want to risk it. Um, you always want to go from one Bollinger to the middle band, rinse repeat. Just like if we start pushing the bottom Bollinger here, that would actually create room for calls to the upside. But I am bearishly biased overall today, so I'm not going to be really looking for calls too much. And I do see a lot of selling signals throughout the overall market, so I am looking for some real selling to occur, especially within semiconductors. We have not seen semiconductors come back towards the 20 mile yet, so that should be the expectation, is that even if the market is going to be bullish, we should see semiconductors pull back to this 50 or to this 20 mile. Okay, so we've had two very good trades this morning so far. Hopefully everybody is having a green day or, at least seeing how you can start to have green days. When we're trading, we have to make it as simple as possible. And that's really what I try to do for scalps. I want it to be the most simple thing in the world. I want it to be really a no-brainer type trade where I can engage on it, make profit, be in and out, not have to really fight the position, not have to fight the day too much. And this selling, with it pushing down so large, it's actually invalidating the even larger bear structure on the day, which is the one that many were talking about was this potential cup right here. But again, I attributed the other side of this cup to being part of the um, overall inverse cup that we've been talking about over the last few days, or truly the last few weeks now. Um, However, with us pushing down, it does invalidate this cup, and we should be expecting basically the double top. And from that double top, we should be seeing the inverse, cup and handle to the downside. So that should be the expectation for the day. Going to delete this bullish structure because it has been validated. Oh, no, no, you didn't sell it too early. You did absolutely fine. So again, I mean, and I want to make this example as clear as day. And people might think this sounds stupid, but I always use the analogy of you know, hunting the birds in the bushes, okay? Um, because I know there's always the saying that um, you know, basically, take two birds with one stone and all that good stuff. But the idea is that with our trade here, and we're going to ignore some of the price action on the day. I want you to act like this never happened, okay? I want you to pretend that we're only in this upper Bollinger range right now, and that potentially we're starting to push downward. Okay. Now, when we have that trade, this entire range underneath this 20 mile is the unknown birds in the bush. Okay. When you take your target at the upper Bollinger for the short, that's you targeting the one bird in the bush. That's you seeing that, okay, I see the profit here. I can take it. I know it's there. Um, That's what I'm going to target. I'm going to set my sights on that one bird. I'm going to take the one bird. There might be 1,000 birds in that bush. That position might have room all the way down far below that, but we don't know that. We have no clue how many birds are in this bush other than we know for a fact there's one. Okay. Um, that's what we want to do with our scalps. We want to take the prime trades that we know are 100% there. We don't want to be really risking too much because, yes, we could go for the hunting party. We could really try to feed the family and you know, hunt every single bird in that bush, but we don't know if there's even another bird in that bush. There could be 0 birds in that bush after the initial one. For example, it could just bounce off that 20 maw and you could have no selling for the rest of the day. Um, so as much as it hurts to see sometimes the position could have done way better, you weren't looking for that really. You were really looking for just that initial position. Um, if there's room under that, if you have running positions that can take the profit, then you go for that. Um, but this is the big thing that catches the majority of traders is that they say, "Oh, I left money on the table." Well, not really, because most people don't know how to do that proper exit. Most people, uh, you know, would have taken that put position, would have bounced upward, and they would have been in the red. Might have even cut out on the red there. So, um, take the trades that are very easily accessible and that we know are there. And if there's anything after that, and if we have the ability to actually take it, then you can take it. Okay, it's not money left on the table. It just looks like it. It's money that is able to be grabbed. If we have the additional contracts and overall the tools to actually hunt those additional birds. So that's the yeah, exactly. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Um, that's the whole theory behind it is that you're gonna take the trades that are basically almost 100% guaranteed. Is it going to be 100% guaranteed each and every time? No, but it is almost one of the most consistent trades you can have, and that way we don't have to have any stress about, um, oh, is my position going to continue down? Do I have to take profit in here? Is it going to bounce back up? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. We're just using our technical levels, going from one Bollinger to the middle Bollinger. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that resonates. I know that it really does feel bad when we see a contract that we bought for, say 25 bucks and then all of a sudden it's worth like 300 something. Um, yeah, it feels bad, but it wasn't worth that 300 something at the time you sold it. Um, so nothing to feel bad about on that. Kind of goes back into the whole chasing the trades type thing. Um, it's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to just make consistent profits and consistent profits will beat out the people that are trying to chase, what's left on the table. So I am looking for this 675 or the 674 to start being pushed into to really fully fill out this inverse cup to the downside. Filling out that structure to the downside. I don't know why I didn't just use that same box, but it's okay. Filling out the structure to the downside would suggest that we will be pushing underneath this 673 range because this is a very, very major lower consolidation range. And this has been holding weight for months and months and months. So if we can break that range, then that's going to be very, very bearish on the day, and it would be telling us that, you know, on the daily time frame, we are very likely going to be heading down to the lower Bollinger again. EVIX still holding weight, so that is good. I want to look at semiconductors. Again, looking for semiconductors to still pull back towards that 20 mile. So this is still telling us that there is some room for selling on the table still. So we shouldn't be done with the selling just yet. And with this being an inverse cup, we should start to expect a little bit of bullish structure at the bottom so that it can build that inverse handle to the downside. So, all right, everybody. So that's going to be pretty much the stream today, unless there's any final questions. I know it's a shorter stream. I wanted to start it a little earlier. I do apologize. Um, but everybody should pretty much be on board with what's going on for the day, what we're looking for. Um, Video finally hit that 20 mo. That's good. Bitcoin seeing some buying, which can allude to potential buying on the day, so just be cautious of that. And my Soxus calls so far are up 15%, so starting to gain some weight. I will be holding on to those a little longer. I would generally cut at this 20 mile range, but with these Soxus calls, we do have a full 2 additional days duration on them because they are weeklies. So I will be trying to hold it a little bit longer. Um, it's not something I 100% suggest to everybody. So if you are within these positions, use that 20 mile range to really secure profit. Um, don't squander your profit and try to chase a big win here. The only reason why I'm going to be holding a large majority of those success calls after that range is because on the daily time frame, I am seeing a potential 5 mile rejection, which would be telling us that um, there would be quite a bit of selling to the downside coming. This is a daily time frame, so if we reject the 5 mile here, what's underneath it? Back to the bottom Bollinger. So that's the expectation. And that is why I will be holding those Soxus calls a little longer. So the VVIX, um, hold on, let me go back to the VVIX. VVIX is an extremely reactive tool. So you can see this pulling upward and you can also see the SPY pulling upward. What the VVIX is telling you is that the futures insurance rate is going up, which means that for big money to insure positions, every penny this goes up is costing them more and more and more. Okay. Um, Big money is pretty much the only one entering into these VVIX positions. So this is telling us almost verbatim that this is big money hedging their equity positions. Well, you only are going to be hedging your equity position if you're really seeing some true downside. For big money, the downside in the overall AI market has been to just continue buying the equity upside, and that has been the actual anti-risk measure is just to continue buying into it. That's starting to change a little bit. And so when we're seeing the VVIX pulling upward, it's a major indicator that dealers are getting ready to position for that downside push. Um, can be seeing the actual SPY moving upward during that time because while it does share correlations with the VVIX because the VVIX is tracking the SPACs, which is, what the SPY is based off of, we still have liquidity that's still being taken on the upside and downside within the actual ETFs themselves. So, for example, we could see buying here, but that buying may not be actual buying. It might just be taking, additional put liquidity before they're pushing down further. So it's hard to say each and every moment. but it's very, very situational. There'll be, again, from what I'm seeing here, this is just taking that put liquidity before they get ready to continue pushing downward with the VVIX. If we continue to see it pushing upward, that would very, very likely allude to that. But yeah, our downside looks very good. Um, Again, I'd be very surprised to see this start bouncing up to the upside and seeing a buying day here. Um, the selling signals overall are extremely, extremely good. So yeah, that's gonna be today's stream, everybody. I apologize that it was shorter, but hopefully everybody were able to take a few good trades. We did take the two shorts this morning. Um, and overall, really, we're looking for a major rejection to continue pushing down to the downside. So that's what we're expecting. Unless there's any final questions, I will be ending the stream here. And for those who want to go over and study it, if you weren't able to take those trades this morning, the VOD will be available so you can, go over those trades with us and see why those puts worked out the way they did. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thank you for tuning in, and I will be posting a video tonight, and I will be around in the Discord chat. So, if you have any questions, just go ahead and ping me. But other than that, thank you for watching. Take care, and let's continue having a super